that first interview, you had even said to the kids, you know what, go get your mom.
No, I didn't.
And where did that come from, that terminology? Is that
Watching TV.
watching TV? Okay. Documentary stuff, or like what?
Probably just crime shows and stuff.
Have you done any research on like the laws as far as like in Florida, as far as self-defense and things like that?
I looked at it today.
You looked at it
When
today?
I was on Facebook.
Describe that.
I don't know, I would have tons of stuff.
Is it a possibility that you looked that up?
Could have been. I don't know.
Susan, I think you know the reason why I'm asking that question. You're smart, okay? And the reason is...
Oh, hell no. No, absolutely. I know what you're thinking. Did I look at the laws so I could do something? No.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Matthew Pfeifer. I'm a therapist, coach, author, and on my channel, I give my thoughts and reactions to different events that are happening in the news and across the world. And if you enjoy that type of content, be sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe button so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. Also, be sure to subscribe to my Substack because I keep people updated on there as well. I go into a little more detail about different things that are happening. With that being said, we are talking about The Perfect Neighbor, the documentary that is going viral that people are loving and hating all at the same time on Netflix. I watched it. I really enjoyed it on one hand and really hate it on another hand because of the true real life events. I do feel that the documentary was very well thought out and very well put together. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you to watch it. I did another video on The Perfect Neighbor. If you want to see that, make sure you go down into the description box down below. To give a quick rundown, The Perfect Neighbor is about the case with Susan Lorincz and Ajike Owens. And Susan Lorincz was convicted of manslaughter in this case, if you're not familiar. A lot of people feel like she should have been charged with premeditated murder. So if you're not familiar with the case, Susan was a very difficult neighbor, to say the least. Susan was considered a Karen. She was a very difficult neighbor to deal with, so much so that she committed murder, was charged with manslaughter of Ajike Owens. She was extremely problematic to all the neighbors that were involved. And a lot of people feel like she should have been charged with premeditated murder. And so we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to break down, I'm going to show some videos of her being investigated, her being interrogated by the police officers, and some of the questions and the way that she answered some of the questions and some of the thought process, because I do believe that they were considering charging her with premeditated murder. And then she ended up being charged with manslaughter. And I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why that happened. So with that being said, some of you might be dealing with a difficult person, maybe a neighbor, might be someone else, might be a husband, might be a wife, might be a boyfriend, might be a girlfriend. And if that is the case,
first interview, you had even said to the kids, you know what, go get your mom.
Many aspects of your life.
You said something along the lines as when they said, I'm going to go get my mom, and you said, go get her.
And then they were like, I'm going to tell my mom. And I'm like, don't tell me. I don't care.
Go get her. Which is fine. I want to talk to an adult too. I don't want to talk to a kid.
I partnered with BetterHelp.
You used the word reasonable and prudent earlier. That's an interesting series of words to use. That's like a series of words that we use as law enforcement officers when we try to look at things.
15% off your first month of therapy with a licensed therapist.
Okay, documentary stuff.
With all that being said, check out this next video.
Probably just crime shows and stuff.
Have you done any research on like the laws as far as like in Florida, as far as self-defense and things like that?
I looked at it today.
You looked at it today?
When I was on Facebook.
Describe that. What did you, specifically, what you were reading about and learning about?
They said self-defense and mostly emails. But I just remember saying self-defense, and there was a bunch of lawyers and stuff like that.
If we were just to look through that, would there show anything that you were looking up, stand your ground or self-defense laws in Florida on the internet?
I don't know. I looked up tons of stuff.
Is it a possibility that you looked that up?
Could have been. I don't know.
Susan, I think you know the reason why I'm asking that question. You're smart, okay? And the reason is...
Oh, hell no. No, absolutely. I know what you're thinking. Did I look at the laws so I could do something? No, absolutely.
This is not...
All right, welcome back. So premeditated murder. One of the things that we have to understand about premeditated murder is that it can be very difficult to prove. Now, in this case and in this situation, I think everybody, the judge, the attorneys, the police officers, everyone who's watched this documentary, and anyone who's followed me and seen some of the clips, knows that this was premeditated. Everybody knows. And I think that we have to understand that there's a difference between things that we might understand through common sense and things that we need to prove through the court of law. What I mean by that is that we can know something is true, but we also, when we're dealing with the court of law, we have to go by the letter of the law. So when we go by the letter of the law, we have to go by also what is provable by the letter of the law. So I think in this situation, everyone knows and understands that Susan is very manipulative, that Susan did this, that she planned this, that this was very premeditated. But I also think that the police, the attorneys, the judges, everyone involved knows that she did this, knows that she planned it out, but also understood that it would be very difficult to prove this. Here's the reason why. For example, you heard in her interview with police that she searched for and did research on stand your ground laws. Now, that could be and should be something that points towards premeditated murder, especially with the type of defense and the type of excuses that she was coming up with. Common sense tells us that that is what it is. But when we look at the court of law and trying to prove that, that's really just kind of an opinion, right? Because the defense of that would be she was just into true crime. And you actually heard her say something along those lines, that she was looking this up because she's interested in crime and she's interested in law and those sorts of things. And the reality of it is that there's a lot of people out there that are, right? A lot of you who are watching this probably are interested in true crime. That's a good portion of my following and of my channel. So that's a defense that could be that would be a great defense to counter the argument that in the grand scheme of things, when we talk about trying to convince a jury of reasonable doubt, that is something that could cause reasonable doubt that could potentially get someone that everyone wants convicted because everyone knows and believes that she did this, could get this person off the hook. We actually see this type of thing all the time, where people who everyone knows committed a crime, but because the attorneys, the district attorney gets too aggressive, then they can't prove the case because it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. The other point that people point out to when it comes to premeditated murder was her saying to the child, go get your mother, right? And so people felt like she was setting up the stage for Ajike to come to get shot. The problem, though, in this situation, if you were trying to prove this in court, you heard this in the interview again. How do we verify that she was doing this to set Ajike up versus her looking to speak with another adult? Right? So that is a very good defense, and it's something that is very difficult to prove whether or not what her intent was in that situation with that phrase. Now, like I said, when we look at all of the evidence, I think that most people would say, like, oh yeah, she's being manipulative and she's this, but that is very difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Oftentimes when attorneys are put in this position, they will go to the next step down, but give them the highest level of sentencing that they possibly can. So when they were looking at this case, they looked at it and said, we can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt manslaughter. At the very least, we can get a manslaughter case. We can slam the door shut on this real quick on manslaughter. Now, when we look at the different sentencing with cases like this, with murder versus manslaughter, murder is typically 25 to life, and manslaughter is typically 10 to 25. So they gave her the highest level of sentencing that manslaughter would allow. The reason why they did this is because everyone in that room knew that this was premeditated. So even though they couldn't prove premeditation, they gave her a level of sentencing that would equate to someone that committed premeditated murder. So those are my thoughts Now, I'm not an attorney. Those are just some things that I've seen just in life experience. I've worked in the court system before, not on the criminal side, but those of you who know my background knows that I've worked in the court system before. So I've seen these type of thought processes a lot in other cases, in other situations. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I'll be sure to comment. Also be sure to subscribe to my Substack, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to stay up to date on this story or any other cases that I do, be sure to subscribe to my Substack in the description box down below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. And be sure to check out some other recent videos that I've done. They should be on the screen on the right and on the left. With all that being said, I will see you in the next video. You guys have a good one.